Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. Today, I wanted to go over something that was requested, but I also think there's a little bit of a misconception as to why these things happen. So today, we're actually going to go over the most painful, some people call it toxic. I don't know. I don't feel that word, but maybe the most toxic, the most painful, the most dysfunctional is probably the best word, but I don't know if that's going to fit in the title. We'll see. The most dysfunctional attachment pairings, the ones that struggle to understand one another. And sometimes it ends up that both individuals get their heart pretty broken, right? And so I want to bring up these pairings that I notice in my practice as a therapist with couples, and also why, and also what to do, okay? And I will probably, and most likely I will because it's been requested, a lot of these pairings, I'll probably just make lots of separate videos on those dynamics in general, just to really get more detailed into some of these things, okay? So the first one, I think a lot of people know this one. It's anxious, preoccupied, and dismissive avoidant. So a lot of you guys, I'd like you guys to fill in as well. Why do you think that that is a dysfunctional relationship? Well, I'll explain that. Anxious, preoccupied individuals, they tend to struggle with self-soothing. They tend to really feel like love, commitment, and connection brings themselves to a higher level of value to themselves. That's what they think. It's not true. And so love, commitment, connection is really important to them. It's almost survival. They really feel like they need that. And they actually use relationships to some extent, not use, but they lean on relationships to some extent to self-soothe. And that's the way they are. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it comes from trauma, and this should not be something to make fun of or reject necessarily. However, let's look at how dismissive avoidance, how they kind of see the world and how they think of love. They believe self-soothing should be done independently. And they believe that love is something that takes up a lot of time, that can be overwhelming, and largely not worth it, being honest. And so I just said two things that are very opposite of one another, right? And so you would imagine how dysfunctional it is because they will argue about almost everything. Their perspective of communication and love is different, and there's almost no similarity. And so there's so much more opportunity to argue and disagree simply for the fact that they perceive things very differently. And on top of that, that would mean that they actually both have to change significantly just to make this relationship work. They're both starting on one end of the spectrum, and they have to lean almost all the way in just to connect, right? Whereas let's say two individuals are more closer on the spectrum, there's not as much change to be made, and so it's just easier. This relationship, you have to change a lot, and it can be really, really difficult. Anxious individuals, that means that let's say you want to see your partner every day and your partner only wants to see you once a week. That is very difficult. You have to basically try to learn to be like them, not necessarily, but 6 days out of the week. And then dismissive avoidant individuals, you only get, if they want to see you every day, when do you get your space? That's like the moments that you're not together, you work and then you just see them. When will you ever relax? It's so difficult because what you need to self-soothe is to be alone, and what they need to self-soothe is to be with you. And so this is very difficult. It's extremely challenging. So what can this pair do? Kind of what we were saying, just in a little bit more of a positive way, right? Learn from one another, just a little. Let's talk about the frequency. Anxious individuals, you want to see your partner every day. Let's just say not all are like that, okay? And dismissive one, you only want to see them once a week, if even. Commit to twice a week. Try it. And maybe later you can revisit it and change the frequency, either less or more depending. But try it and see what happens. Anxious individual, during those times where you're not seeing your partner, give them a little bit of space. That doesn't mean don't text. It just means let them really have that time. Don't bother them too much or bring them too much of your emotions. I know it sounds a little strict and harsh. I'm sorry. When you're worried about something, try and self-soothe yourself a little bit, and not ask them to soothe you necessarily during these times, because what your benefit is then when you get to hang out with them for those 2 days, they're more open and receptive to you. They're not going to be moody or detached because they miss you too. And they get to hear about your day and what you've been going through and how you feel, and they can connect because you haven't been telling them necessarily in too much detail throughout the week. That doesn't mean pretend to be a mystery and don't share things. No, you can share them. This is what's going on. I have a meeting tomorrow, X, Y, and Z. I'm seeing my friend today. Let them know what's going on, and you can share your emotions with them as well. But express that more when you're in person. Avoidance actually can really appreciate that because they feel like, okay, you're respecting my time for space. It's really important. And avoidant individuals, during that time of not talking to each other, like not seeing each other, maybe throw a phone call in there every now and then, a FaceTime. Maybe sometimes mention some things that's happening throughout your day. Communicate, text a little bit with larger, not just 2 or 3 sentences even, or 2 or 3 words even. Maybe sometimes give them a paragraph. Let them feel like, you do care and you're not abandoning them when they are in fact not with you. It's really important. That really is one of the best ways to make this pair work, but easier said than done, okay? It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So please, guys, be gentle with yourself, okay? So the next one is fearful avoidant individuals, leaning anxious, and dismissive avoidant individuals. And the reason why this pairing can be particularly volatile is because a lot of individuals who are fearful avoidant, once they feel, especially anxious leaning, when they feel rejected, they actually have this feeling to override that rejection with trying to push away their partner. And so what they do is they may threaten to break up, they may block their partner, they may cut their partner off. And what ends up happening is once their emotions are a little bit more de-escalated, they want to get back with their partner. But their avoidant partner, dismissive avoidant, feels really disrespected because they think, you said you wanted space, but you didn't even honor that. Like, how do I know what you're saying is true? How do I know what you're saying is valuable? And dismissive avoidance, what ends up happening is you may avoid your partner, generally, you avoid your partner because of their up and down moods without telling them how much it bothers you. So it's very important to help with this particular pairing is if you are the avoidant individual, dismissive avoidant, describe what it is that makes your partner trigger you and make you want to pull away. Mention that because this pair, unfortunately, neither communicates very well. And a lot of times what's happening is the relationship is their own perspective and they don't ever have moments where they bridge that gap. So avoidant individuals, they think this relationship is very up and down, really confusing, what's going on, and you never share when they're doing those things, which causes you to shut down, okay? And the fearful avoidant individual, they feel like this person doesn't care about me. They're so disrespectful. They're mean. They are so frustrating. I don't want to do this. Maybe they're cheating on me, X, Y, and Z, without mentioning to them, I'm feeling like this. I feel really confused right now. I'm feeling pretty angry, but I know that that's my trigger. This is what happened. What can we do to get on the same page? Neither individuals end up being able to say that because they're just triggering each other continuously. So please try to remember to communicate more relaxed, more receptive to one another. You have to be receptive to one another. And also communicate more directly. That doesn't mean confrontational, but it does mean communicate in a way where you're saying, this is how I feel. This is what happened. It doesn't have to be this dry. This is what happened. What can we do? What can I do? What can you do to make this not happen again, right? Because both of these individuals don't really like fighting either. But fearful, avoidant, anxious leaning, they tend to almost thrive a little bit. That sounds really bad, but they tend to think that love means volatility. So that behavior in of itself is why they behave this way. They think that means passion, and dismissive avoidance are the complete other way. So it's really important to also understand how you guys perceive love. Because what's happening is your perspective of love is allowing you guys to, unfortunately, hurt each other, right? A dismissive avoidance, you think the up and down that's going on, you think this is really not love. I'm out of here. This does not work. I'd rather be alone than deal with this. Fearful avoidant individuals think, I'm feeling up and down. This is really passionate, but why are you not giving me the end result, what I need? Why are you not telling me you love me? Why are you not there for me when I need you? How come this is not, happening the way I want it to subconsciously, right? And so it's really important to also challenge your own beliefs of love, okay? And that is anxious leaning and dismissive avoidant. And the last one is two fearful avoidant individuals. Both of you guys will likely continuously trigger each other, have a lot of volatility, a lot of off and on, cutting each other off, blocking each other, back and forth, saying things you don't mean, drunk texting, drunk calling each other, cheating on each other. And these relationships, I have seen them actually very interestingly. They last a really long time, but they have like a lot of moments of off and on, and even moments where they are like with other people and they come back. This pair can be very challenging. And to be very honest, it is very hard to untangle this one. It's very hard to untangle this one. I am being honest, okay? And part of the reason why is because neither of you almost are willing to figure out how to fix this. Not willing, but it's almost like you don't know where to start. One person gets triggered in this area, the other one gets triggered in another area. It's almost like every second of the relationship, someone is getting triggered. One person gets triggered because they think you don't answer because you're cheating on them. And the other, now that triggered the other person because they think that you don't trust them. So now it just goes up and down all the time. But because fearful avoidance, they tend to believe love means volatility. They stick to each other for so long because they think this is the person I love so much. This is the person I've always been with. I have seen pairs where like they've been together since high school. They're in their 30s and they have been off and on, sometimes cheating on each other or cheating with their current partner, with the partner. Like they never let these people go. And it's really important to recognize, if you are in this dynamic, do you really love each other? Or do you just think that this is what love is supposed to look like? If you want to heal as two fearful avoidant individuals, it's really important, first and foremost, that you focus on actually physically committing and emotionally committing. There are sometimes it's to the point where it's like, this is something that you shouldn't walk out of. If you want to make this work and you guys have been off and on, both of you stop trying to exit. No exiting anymore. Try not to exit for like a month. Face the fears that you guys are having and work it out. Communicate without yelling, without cursing, without substance, whatever. Talk to each other and try to find what is really bothering you guys. Be actually vulnerable, express your fears, and do it in a way that is not yelling, that is not fighting, no violence, no throwing, and try to actually sit and realize, this is who my partner is, this is who I am. I want to make this work. I love you. You love me. What is the best thing that we can do? What bothers, let's say, partner A is that you don't answer your text messages. Okay. Try to answer messages more. What bothers partner B is that you look through their phone. So don't do that. Whatever it may be, find whatever it is. Way easier said than done. I get it. But sometimes the only way to do it is you got to make yourself do it a little bit. Never stay in a relationship that you're uncomfortable with. If you guys are in any of these dynamics, you guys know it's really challenging. It's really difficult. So please, if you feel like there's no progress and you're unhappy, you're scared, you feel like you're in danger, you can get out of that relationship and go into an area where you feel like you're safe, wherever it may be, even if you have to be alone. Even if you guys have to separate a little bit and get individual therapy. I do not like that necessarily for couples, but if it's very volatile, sometimes that's the only option. Okay? Please take care of yourself. Be safe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.